Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast, getting ready to bring some inspiration, motivation, and education with our guest today. This is Mr. David Fox, who is the co-owner of Metro Jiu-Jitsu in Metro Detroit, proud husband of 16 years and father of three, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt under Danny Alvarez. David brings the same discipline, strategy, and perseverance from the mats into his career as a top-performing real estate agent. Known as the Black Belt Realtor, he's built a powerful brand in the Downriver area of Michigan by combining his passion for martial arts with his no-nonsense approach to negotiations. Whether it's helping clients win in real estate or students succeed on the mat, David's focus is always on unlocking potential and achieving results. Welcome to our show, David.
It's a heck of an introduction, man. Happy to. I'm glad we're able to put it together and get me on. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We've been connected on social media for quite a while. We're in the same industry of martial arts, and I'm sure, you've attended a lot of the same events over the years that I've been a part of. But, what I really appreciate is your pretty straightforward approach to posting on social media, no nonsense, no BS, kind of just straight from the heart, shooting from the hip. And I just love it. I love following your content, and I'm hoping that we can share some of that same energy here today.
Sure.
And share a little bit about your background. So tell me what's been going on, what's going on in your life right now. Let's get it started.
Yeah. So obviously we've got the gym, Metro Jiu-Jitsu, where our headquarters is in Southgate. We're still in our first year of our second location, city called Westland. Right in the border of Westland, Canton. So we're kind of, that's growing. It's going so a little bit slower. There's a lot more competition out that way. Great schools in the area. So we've got that on the gym side. And then the real estate, it is, I always joke with people, it's like selling ice in the snowstorm, or it has been the past few years. It's getting a little bit better though. I think there was a moment there around the elections and things. Everyone just, whenever any election, doesn't matter what it is, people kind of clench their wallet to see, I don't know what they're waiting for, but they do it. So, but it's a day at a time, man. That's about it. So
awesome. Cool. Well, again, I'm excited to share your story today and just talk about, everything from the martial arts industry through real estate and everything in between. So what originally drew you to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and how has it shaped who you are today, both on and off the mats?
Yeah. So Jiu-Jitsu, so it wasn't on purpose. It was kind of weird how it worked out. So I'm from a small city called LaSalle, Michigan. It's like right on the border of Michigan, Ohio. My brother lived in Toledo, and he was always telling me, he's like, man, you gotta, he was next door neighbors in this apartment, which is now, the buildings have been condemned. So it was kind of like a rundown area, but he shared the apartments with these brothers called the Ribeiro brothers. He called them Ribeiro, but the Ribeiro brothers. And I was like, who are these guys? He's like, they're Brazilian fighters, man. You got to come train with them. They have a school down here. And I'm like young. I'm like 15, 16 at the time. I was like, yeah, I'm not really into it. And he's always kept putting them because he was tight with them. They were boys. And so it turned out being Salo and Sanchi, Ribeiro. And fast forward a few years through high school, I got in a couple gotten one really nasty fight, and I lost terribly. Same thing. I got on the ground, had no answer to it. And so then I thought the answer would be like, I'm just going to get really strong. And then after a few years of Mark Ripto's starting strength, the squats and milk method, I was like, well, I still don't know how to fight though, so then I took him up on, I looked up Ribeiro. And then they actually had a location here near Detroit. So I went to their affiliate school, Detroit Jiu-Jitsu there. And that's where we got started. And it was inside of like a closet of a local gym. It was super small. Like the gym, the scale and quality of gyms now, the standard has really raised, which I think, it's good and bad. Like, I think part of me, I kind of like that dusty, dingy sort of vibe of gym, but some people, they won't step foot in that, so I get it. I get both sides.
Well, it's kind of like looking at Rocky's training, when in the Rocky movies, he trains in this little pit of a place at Mickey's gym, and then he gets all famous and he's training in this gym where it's like the best equipment, and it's like super awesome. But like, what's he do when he has to win the really big fight? He goes back to the old school gym. That's where the eye of the tiger comes from. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool. So you started jiu-jitsu as a teenager.
I was 9. I would have been 19. Yeah. So technically a
Okay.
teen, but legal adult for sure.
Young,
Yeah.
young adult. Yeah. Okay, cool. And did you have any experience in any other martial arts before
No,
that?
no, it was I wish I had wrestled. In hindsight, I wish I had wrestled in high school. I think, but it just looked, again, like the atmosphere, like everything about it. The wrestlers were a bunch of punks. They were a bunch of jerks. They was like terrible. Like they were jocks and bullies, so they're just like, meatheads. And then the uniforms were awful. They were still wearing the leotard. So I'm just like, I want nothing to do with that, dude. But I wish I had, because Ida High, where I went, is they had a good wrestling program. So, but yeah, jiu-jitsu is first combat sport of anything. So.
For me, looking back to high school, one of my biggest regrets was walking out of the wrestling room. I tried out, went and practiced with the team, and yeah, funny enough, it came time where we were gonna have a meet, we were gonna have a tournament, and that same weekend we were having a karate tournament. I was like, I can't make it. I got a karate tournament. I started karate when I was 10 years old.
Sure.
But I wish I would have stuck it out in wrestling. Fortunately, many years later, I have a 20-year-old son now, but he got to wrestle, all 4 years. Well, with the exception of the COVID year, got to wrestle in high school, which was super cool. But it's funny because your perception of wrestling is a little different than mine, because my perception of wrestling from the very beginning, and I'm kind of looking on your back wall, seeing the Bruce Springsteen picture back there, but thinking about the 80s, the movie Vision Quest, that was what wrestling was. And like Loudon Swain and Face and Shoot, and I had the opportunity to interview Shoot, Frank Jasper, on the podcast. So
wow.
that was super cool. But like my perception of wrestling was like, tough kid, overcoming adversity and challenges, and coming into his own as an adult. So yeah, just pretty cool though. But wrestling is an amazing sport. I really believe it is.
I think the online, everyone wants to say jiu-jitsu versus wrestling. Jiu-jitsu, like why not wrestle jiu-jitsu? Like grappling is grappling. Like it's been around since ancient Greece. Like like ever since there were two guys who had beef, like there's been grappling. So so I think you can eat the meat, spit out the bones, as I say. My business partner Muhammad, he always roasts me because like all of these old 80s, like the heyday of like karate and taekwondo, like boxing. Like I think I toughed it out through half of Karate Kid. Just so tough to watch. Like I've never seen a lot of these. Like I've seen one Rocky movie. I haven't seen a lot of the Karate Kid. I haven't seen, again, I think half of the first one. Haven't seen any of the others. And so like I didn't have the same inspiration, and like, the movie that got me into jiu-jitsu, honestly, it's cringy, but was what's the Channing Tatum fighting? It was the Channing Tatum one, is what okay. I was like, that's it. Like I watched that, and then the next week I signed up for class. Well, lost the fight and then signed up for classes. But but yeah, it's big into it, man. I mean, wrestling and any form of martial art I think is a good start. Better than the mainstream, this classic sports. So.
Right. Well, my first experience with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was watching UFC 1, watching Royce Gracie come in. And, that was in 1993, I believe. I had already earned my black belt in Tong Sudo, Korean karate. And, being a Korean martial artist, similar to Taekwondo, like, ground stuff was just not part of what we did. Sure. And it was just like eye-opening to everybody, like, oh my gosh, wow. And then you watch the evolution of the UFC from like this really strong focus on jiu-jitsu being the ultimate to now wrestlers kind of taking over a little bit. Then you got the strikers, and like you said though, it's like, why not do it all? Why not incorporate everything? And I just recently got back into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a little over a year now. I did a lot of Japanese jiu-jitsu earlier in my career, which not a lot of grappling per se, but I'm loving it. Jiu-jitsu is super challenging in so many ways and super complex compared to, again, Korean style of martial art, Tong Sudo, pretty simple for the most part. And then I got into Krav Maga, very simple striking and principles to understand. But you get into jiu-jitsu, and it's just like, wow. So what's your biggest lesson that you've learned on your journey to earning your black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Oh, I think, yeah, I would say just in a rule is like keeping your eye on the end goal. Is that, like I didn't really have a great reason. I was just like, well, I'm going to get. I just, if I'm going to start something, let's see it through to completion.
Mm-hmm.
That was back when I thought the black belt was like the end destination. But I was like, well, let's see it. Just kind of that. And if you take narrow windows of time, like there could be months, like 3 months of at a time where you're like, I think of that scene from A Knight's Tale, right? Where like they're jousting and he's like they're in the woods getting ready for, and like time goes on and they're like, I think he's getting worse. He is getting worse. Yeah. Like, and you feel like it's somehow getting worse at
Yeah.
3, 4, but at a narrow time, you're like, nothing's working. I'm coming in, I'm the nail as opposed to the hammer every day. And it's just like, can be really kind of demoralizing. But you're like, what am I here for? Like, what was ultimately the end goal? And for me, the end goal originally started at black belt. And to me, I think after I got blue, if I was going to quit, I would have quit at white. Like, but to me, like to quit at blue belt, certainly at purple, like that's asinine to me, right? Because like you got like the easiest time to quit. No one's really gonna like dog you if you quit at white belt. Like you tried
Right.
enough, whatever. But
Right.
like you quit at blue belt, you put in some effort. But then like what stopped you from keeping it going? Now I'm mainly trained just for like the mental health benefits of it, the stress release of it. There it keeps me. It's an alternative. Certainly, it's an alternative. My grappling looks different now than when I was 20, dramatically different. But I think just keeping the end goal in mind, and that's the single lesson too. Like even apply that in business or in your life. You're like parenting. You're like, I've just like there can be weeks and months where you're like, this is not going well. Like this is not going, like things are not going great. And the desire to want to throw in the towel, it's there. Of course it's there. To like, well, what if I just quit? But then, there's also the question of like, what if then? Like, what else is there? Because I can't, quit jiu-jitsu and do what? Like, I can't do nothing.
Right.
So I think just keeping that kind of end, begin with the end in mind, to borrow from Covey, like that's, you could, that's to me one of the greatest lessons. And it is, I think Dan Gable is like, once you've wrestled, everything else becomes easy in life.
Yeah.
That's the same with jiu-jitsu. Like there is nothing harder that you will do. Like we do a lot of we call them zombie classes, like 6 a.m.s, 7 a.m. classes. Like if you start your day like that, what else are you going to encounter? Like that's going to be that difficult. There's nothing that, unless you get in an actual fight, right? Like unless you encounter a real fight, there's nothing that board meeting, that interview, that project, that group speak, that conference, anything else is going to be like, I don't care. Like these guys aren't going to choke me. So like it's easy. So
Right.
I would say that would be my biggest takeaway is just, remember why you started, keep your eye on the end goal,
Yeah. Well, I can completely agree with the attitude of, man, if I can make it through a jiu-jitsu class, a training session, like how hard is the rest of my day going to be? How hard is the rest of my week going to be? Because you literally, like, I mean, we say it all the time, like we literally have people trying to choke the life out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And like you go through the rest of your day and like, well, nobody else is doing that. But I struggled with starting jiu-jitsu, having already been a black belt in several styles of martial arts. I did not want to start jiu-jitsu without having the goal of not just becoming a black belt, but making it part of my life. Right. Again, I knew what the end goal in most people's mind is, to get to the black belt, but really the end goal is, can I adopt this to be part of my lifestyle? And starting at 50 years old and starting again at 50 years old, man, that's a tough one. And so I struggled. I waited a couple years because all my friends around me were already doing jiu-jitsu. They were already training regularly and they would talk about it all the time. And we're in the same group of people, that, we all train in Krav Maga and we started in Tong Soo Do together. And it's like, they all kind of moved on and started doing jiu-jitsu. And I was like, I don't want to do it because I know if I do it, I know what I'm it's got to be something that I keep doing. So I totally faced that. And, just this past year, it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm all in now. And now it's like, being a white belt, all over again.
Yeah.
Super humbling. I really enjoy the learning experience. It's very different than any system or style or curriculum or training that I've ever done, but I love it. I
Yeah.
love the challenge of that. And, I think that a lot of people struggle with being humble enough to start over.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that is difficult. That is difficult. I'm going to take a moment. I've been looking at the camera. You like, I'm wondering if this is how pale I am in real life. I look really like, you're obviously on the west side somewhere. Like, this is what you get in Michigan winter. It's been fall. We don't see sunlight. So like, I feel like I'm not quite this pale in real life, but I'm just kind of like, that is,
It's just the lighting.
I
It's
guess
just
it
the
must
lighting.
be. But I think it's humbling. And that's where a lot of people, you did the work on the front end though. Like I would rather, as a coach and like, I'd rather people like ask themselves, like, is this something that I can plug into my life?
Mhm.
And yours, I mean, you've gone, like, you're old enough to be able to plan out now, like the zoom out in years, not just a lot of people look at the next 6 weeks. Like, can I make it here a couple of days a week? What about this?
Mhm.
What about if, my kids are younger? So like, kids are in school, but then during summer when they're out of school, like, so you're like, can I still make it to train? What is the schedule? The schedules fit with me? Is this something that I can commit to? I don't know if that type of planning goes. In fact, I know that type of planning doesn't go into it, because we talk to people all the time. Like, hey, what's up? Ring. What's up, dude? Can we make it 2 days a week? Oh, I don't know. Like, what did you think we were doing? What do you think we were doing here? Like, you're going to just come and like occasionally do a drop in for
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu? That is the worst way to learn jiu-jitsu. Like, I would
Yeah.
quit, of course, because you're not going to get any better. So and I can imagine that in your stance too, like starting over, like you said, at white belt, the humility that kind of comes with that. But I would assume that everyone on the team made you feel welcome, like super, the people on the mats, they're some of the best people, man. Like, honestly, like, that's the best community of people in the jiu-jitsu community. So
Yeah, 100%. I have trained with martial artists all over the world. World champion coaches, high level martial artists, and I feel this sense of, because it's already my tribe. It's already my tribe of people that I've been training with and working out with. But the mindset of our coach, Sergio Machado, he just comes with just a different approach than I've ever approached any of the martial arts that I've ever done. And his mindset is just so enlightening, so empowering. So like, I could just listen to him. We have kind of our circle to start. And before we even start training, I'm already like mesmerized and like amped just to train. And then, kind of debrief after we train, just sitting and talking about, just not the technique of jujitsu, but
yeah,
how weathering the storm in a scramble and working for your position, all these things, how it applies, in your life, in your life at home, in your life with business. And like you said, I mean, there's probably I love going to the gym every single day. I love working out. It is my therapy. And that's what jujitsu is. Jujitsu is just another outlet for that therapy to kind of shut off the world, because I don't have time to think about paying the bills. I don't have time to think about my appointments. I don't have time to think about any of those things while I'm in the middle of a roll and I'm in the
sure.
middle of drilling, because I've got to be in that moment and totally focused. It's a pretty cool feeling that most people won't get in other systems of martial arts.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. They, I think that's interesting. I personally really I like and appreciate when coaches go, they kind of give some insight and relativism to off the mat application. Coach Alvarez does that a lot. He calls them mental vitamins, right? Like, so he's got like similar thing, but he'll coach Bruno, team lead, same thing. I've heard and I've seen, doesn't make sense to me, but some people are like, well, I'm not here for a life coach. I'm just here for like that to me is like, it kind of spits in the face a little bit of like the martial arts aspect, which that is where I will, you've kind of got this, like, I mean, jujitsu itself, you take a traditional art, like, Tang Sudo or karate, you guys are very, very traditional and formal, and like heavy emphasis on the respect and like the care, what's known as character development, especially with the kids. Like, I think those are the honorable aspects of it. And then you've got like a lot of some, not all, but some jiu-jitsu guys, usually no-gi guys, they're just like reckless kind of pirates. And to me, like, I don't really, they're like, I'm not here. I'm just here to get in and get out. I just want matches. And I think you've kind of, missed the forest to see through the trees, or, however the expression goes. Like, you missed the point a little bit. It's not just about the skill acquisition. It's also about the personal development in the process of it. And I really, really appreciate people's insight to, like anybody's, man. I mean, like, when you go and if you attend a seminar and they start applying on those things, like that's, I like that. I dig that, because that kind of sticks with you. I like to extract those things. And if that's not what you're there for, I think you're missing out a little bit, I think.
And like you said, every gym's going to be a little bit different.
Sure.
The culture of the gym. I have noticed that, the culture of jiu-jitsu in general is very different than traditional martial arts. A ton of things that I really do appreciate and have come to really enjoy. Hey, we're going to take a quick break real quick. Man, 20 minutes went by really fast. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors and supporters of the Master Motivation Podcast. Check it out. This is Raptor Extreme Karate. All right, that was Raptor Extreme Karate. Hey guys, Kevin Kowalczyk will be hosting a camp at his school. He's going to have Haley Glass, Alex Mancias, got a whole group of elite martial artists. November 21st, 22nd, 23rd in Littleton, Colorado. If you'd like more information, let me know. I'll hook you up with Kevin. But I'm here with David Fox, co-owner of Metro Jiu-Jitsu. We spent the first part of the show just kind of talking about his roots in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, starting as a young adult, 19 years old, and really embracing the jiu-jitsu culture. One question I didn't get to ask is, how do you balance being a father, a husband, a business owner, an athlete, real estate agent, and still find the time to get your training in? Yeah,
so it is, honestly, it's week by week. Like one of the things that's helped the most is it's the best self journal or something. It's just journaling, but like it's planning and then reflection on how you hit that plan. But it's week by week, and it's some days it's good, or some weeks it's good, and some weeks I miss the mark. And I'm embarrassed to say, but usually if we're taking something out, it usually comes from my kids or my family, because when you're weighing those things, you're like, oh, I've got someone on the phone, or I got to coach class or whatever. The kids can wait, Amanda can wait, whatever. And that has really helped me to give like an honest it keeps me accountable to myself a little bit of like, hey, you set out the week to do this, and you kind of missed the mark here, right? You want to, whatever it is, to take the kids somewhere or do something with them. Now, I'm not like, if I make a promise to the kids, I say we're going somewhere, we're going, like hell or high water, we're going, or we're doing. But that's helped. Just a really, I'm big on practical things, man. Like practical, Like give me something I take away and actually like start this week concepts are cool too, but that's helped a lot. Just planning and recapping.
And are your kids old enough to get involved in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. So they, I'm laughing because it's not optional, but they're 9, 6, not my 9-year-old and 6-year-old. They both started around 4 or 5.
Cool.
And then he's going to be 3 here in about a week. And then he'll start with our pandas, like tumbling / wrestling class. But he's literally Jameson has been on the mats his entire life. So he's still, he'll come and sit, like I coach our new spot in Westland. He come and sits on the mats and he, does what he can. So they do it. And they, I joke with parents, I eat my own dog food, so to speak. Like I don't coach my kids. I'm not coaching them in addition to the coaching that they get. So I don't come home and you should have done this hip toss, no, like you did what you're supposed to that day, and right. I love watching you try. Like I love that's all I ask for. So they do it. And it's been substantial, and their all the things the parents want from it, I get to benefit from, which is cool.
Yeah. I started teaching martial arts at 19, professionally, opened my school at 19, and at the time didn't have kids yet. But now our children, 23, 20 years old, my daughter, started some of their first steps, both of them, literally some of their first steps were on the karate mat. There is often times where my wife and I are both working in the martial arts school, and the kids, we can remember having kids sitting in the little bouncy swing in the doorway of our office watching classes. Sure. My son was still in diapers at 2.5 when he started training, and my son is still training. My daughter works at the karate school, not active training martial arts, but I, like you, have seen the results of what our program produces, because I made the mistake with my daughter of trying to be that dad of like, okay, yeah, you take classes, but you're also taking private lessons with me. And when you come home, like you're doing more. Yeah. And I learned that probably wasn't the best approach. So with my son, I was like totally hands off. I let him take all the regular classes, train with other black belts, not really myself. I try to, and he's still going strong and one of our head instructors at our school. So maybe that approach worked a little bit better. I don't really know, but like you said, I can see the results of the confidence, the discipline, all the things that we tell our parents what our program provides. Because at 19, man, I could talk about it all day long, but I never really had the experience as a parent to see my child. Now I can speak from kind of both sides of the coin, where I know how to teach your children, but I also know how it affected my children. So I think that's a pretty cool perspective to have. And your kids are still young, and you'll see as you continue to go along how that evolves and changes. They completely changed the curriculum in my school, completely changed my approach to how we tried to retain students. Learned a lot just from having both of them train in the program.
I can imagine it. And that's a cool benefit we do have, as my partner, Muhammad, his son Jablil started when he was 5, came all the way up. And he's he's got some unique perspective too, especially like the early teen, preteen years, like 10 to 14, even and up, of like those are when they lost, that's when he lost most of his classmates and teammates on the mats at the gym. And so he's like, this is, so being able to pull from that, I think is valuable, certainly.
Absolutely. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about real estate a little bit more.
Yeah.
How did the idea of the Black Belt Realtor brand come about, and what kind of a reaction have you gotten from clients?
So I believe, I think there's like 50,000 real estate agents in Michigan now. So I'm sure it's no different across the nation. Hey, I'm looking for you post on community board somewhere, I'm looking for a realtor, and it turns into the yellow pages immediately. And so I'm like, well, you got to marketing 101. You got to be remembered. You got to stand out. And so, kind of applying the black belt thing in there. It's just kind of a niche marketing thing, but how it I mean, it asks questions, and I wear like, the shirts and things, and they're like, what's Black Belt Realtor, we throw in some jujitsu and a few other perks whenever we close, but it's more like they remember the logo. I've got like a little, I've got a fox and a gi as my logo and character icon. It's just something to stand out because, every other business, it's some dude in a blazer, they got this sideways shoulder, but they all look the same. They all look this. They all look the same,
Yep.
And so having that, like even my business card, I don't think it's got a small photo of me, but it's just got my fox, right? And it's just got the fox on it. So it's something else, but they react. They're more like they have questions. They're like, "What do you mean black? I don't understand." And so like, let's talk about it. Let's have the question, and then especially when we're making a lot of calls, people fill out the website, like they filled out 50 other people's websites. You're like, hey, I'm David Fox, the Black Belt Realtor, versus as opposed to with EXP or Berkshire Hathaway or, whatever. Like, it's just like, it gets lost, or you're one of 20 other agents from the same brokerage. And so, just more of a conversation piece and something to remember them by.
Yeah, I love it. And like you said, marketing 101, make yourself stand out, make yourself memorable. Once you do that, and then, earn their trust and earn their,
Sure.
relationship. And as a real estate agent, that it's not the short-term game, it's the long-term,
Not at all. Not by any definition.
it's the long game and making those relationships, because it's not just the one deal, it's the,
Right.
continuous relationship that you build over time. Are there any parallels between competing in jiu-jitsu and negotiating real estate deals?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I think I compete best when I've done the preparation ahead of time, and all I have to do is go out and trust my preparation. That is when I compete best, and of course, staying calm and Mindset Mike, whose name I don't know his full name, but he's just Mindset Mike on Instagram. He's a wrestling coach, and he talks about competition as a privilege. So it's a privilege to go and compete, and so just kind of keep it playful of like with that in mind. And as far as negotiation, I don't do the I don't play like the gangster negotiation of like, like your typical suave greaser, real estate. Well, here's what I ask right away. If we have a buyer, they want to buy a house, and I say, I'm going to call listing agent, hey, Jason, I'm calling on this listing at Main Street. We're interested, man. They definitely like it. What's most important to your seller? Like, what is the most important thing to them? Is it just price? Is it terms? Is it occupancy? Is it, certainty of closing? Like, how can we make this attractive for you? That is going to go way further than like, yeah, we got an offer, but this, like if you come off hard, man, you have to go to win-win, because not only are you nurturing and trying to get the best deal for your client, but real estate agents talk. And so when they're like, yo, that Fox dude, he was just awful to deal with, difficult all the way through, as opposed to now I've got this, let's say I'm fast forward 6 months, that agent has another listing and I call him up and we had a successful close. This happened just the other day. They're like, oh, hey, what's up, dude? Yeah, here's the story on it. It's going to go like, so now they know that I'm going to, it's going to go smooth for me. I'm not going to play games. I'm not going to try and hardball or, it's got to go with win-win, man. It's got to be win-win. Like at the end of the day, it's not, people have this idea that real estate is cutthroat. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So I'd say just stay calm and, I not direct parallels. I can't say, at least not with my approach. I don't think of it as like our goal is to beat the other side. Some people do, but I don't.
Well, and I think that applies to sales in any industry, that it doesn't have to be that hardball, hard sell. I was told a long time ago by a mentor of mine, Robbie Beard. He gets up to do a presentation. He's like, the word sell or sale is translated from, I believe he said it was in Norwegian or I don't forget I forget the word, but to serve, to sell is to serve.
Mhm.
And so when we go in with that mindset, like you're talking about the win-win, as you were asking those questions to your client about a home or land for sale, these are the same questions we ask when we meet with a student for the very first time. You know,
100%.
what are you looking for? How can we serve you? How can we help you? And then being able to demonstrate, okay, I'm looking for focus, discipline, and respect. Well, this is how we teach focus, discipline, and respect. And then because the numbers end up just becoming a formality. I mean, we all, we charge a reasonable fee for our expertise and our service.
Sure.
But really, like, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? And how can I provide it? If I can prove those things, that makes a sale super, super easy, and not necessarily just a transaction, but where I'm actually building a long-term relationship. Because just like a real estate agent, our martial arts relationship with our student as a coach, we hope, like I said, when I joined jiu-jitsu, I wanted to make it part of my lifestyle, not
Right.
just to get my black belt, not just to learn how to roll on the ground, but I wanted to make it part of my lifestyle. So if we bring a student into our school, how can we make this part of their lifestyle and see that big picture? So it all makes sense, and it all comes together really, really well. What's the toughest real estate challenge you faced, and how did your martial arts mindset help you push through it?
Oh, dude, getting our closing on our second building, or we'll call our second location, first building. I mean, that was one of the most. It took a year to close on that thing, and it went through the SBA. And anyone who knows anything about that process, and I felt like I was the only one working towards that. Like the bank had no deadline in which to do. And every morning, I'm like, guys, what? Yeah, I've sent in the same documents 37 times. It got to a point where like I just made a good drive. I was like, everything it's in here. And the follow up on my side, and I'm thinking to myself, I was like, why am I the only one working this hard for, like wouldn't the lender want to be closing on that? So but with a year, man, and it would literally took a year to close. And then and of course we did the rehab too. So we did a lot of the work ourselves, built it out, which a lot of homeowners, they take that on under as well. So they buy something a little bit less money, they throw some sweat equity in. That is that has been by far the longest transaction, with to that point some of the most difficult people I've dealt with on the planet. So
Yeah.
on the other side of that deal, commercial is a little bit different. Those guys are, I think they watch too much Suits or something. I don't know. I don't know I don't know. They're a little bit different sometimes. Not all of them, but sometimes.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears slightly. Talk a little bit more about business and leadership.
Yep.
As co-owner of Metro Jiu-Jitsu, what's your philosophy on building a strong academy culture?
Yeah, so it's always very much lead from the front and lead by example. I won't ask anyone to do anything that I haven't done or won't do. So if I'm going to ask my as far as my team to compete, a good portion of the time I'm out there competing. It's provided I'm physically able, right? Like if I'm physically able to compete, I'm out there competing, because that's the number one fear is like, what if I lose? And who cares? Nobody can. I promise you, nobody cares if you lose. So the work done is before the tournament. Same thing with people on the payroll who are working for you, whether it's the jiu-jitsu coaches or anything else. And they will taking the time to kind of get to understand where they're at, getting to know people. We've got a lot of members, and I try very hard to remember everyone's name and their mom's name and their dad's name. And if grandma came in that day, like I've got like not 100%, but I feel like an 85% success rate, which is which is not bad. I mean, you're greeting 200 hands, and it's easier if they come in. It's the ones that only come in once every 8 weeks. I was like, I can't remember that. I know the face. So just making them feel like they're cared for, is that's those two go a long way.
Yeah, I'm curious. How big is the area that you're in? What's kind of the rough population in your area?
So our immediate, like Southgate, I think has 70,000 people, but surrounding several hundred thousand, certainly.
Yeah.
Same thing in Westland, several hundred thousand people around there. We're at Detroit Metro, so pretty populated, not too rural. So a lot of
Okay.
people.
Yeah, because I'm in Moore California. We're kind of sandwiched between two major cities of about 100 to 120,000 on each side of us. But Moore is kind of this. It's a small little bubble in between. We've got roughly 37,000, 36, 37,000 people, depending on
Okay.
what the numbers say these days. But one thing that I really love about this small community is, you talk about knowing people's names and knowing mom's name and dad's name. Family is so important to me, the family culture, and making everybody, and this is what I loved about jiu-jitsu too, is like immediately everybody's brothers. Like everybody is just like, you're all brothers, right?
Absolutely.
And so within our school, I've always taken great pride in not just knowing names and mom and dad's names, like learning all about them, like what's their story, and we have a few hundred clients and students as well. That could be a task, to get to know every person. But I think that there's some systematic things that we do, as far as team building, like we have our own coaching staff, our own instructor team, where we've got to have some real cohesiveness there, but we've got to provide opportunities and ways for our students to come together, whether it's through, our upcoming holiday party or our trunk or treat for Halloween, participating in community events, which is another area that I think really kind of brings us together for a common goal, not just the martial arts, but like the common goal is learn how to build leaders in our community, learn how to participate in community service. So I think that that's also something that that has really helped us as well. Do you find yourself doing lots of things to kind of bring your team and your school together?
Yeah. So, and we are, yes, and we're changing it as well. So we've done. Do you guys have street fairs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yep.
we have street fairs that we go to. We put up tents and people come and volunteer and they get the word out. We do like street challenges and things,
Yep.
just as gimmicks. So that's a big one. We've done trunk or treats in the past. This year we're doing Jiu-Jitsu, which is, come do Jiu-Jitsu as a superhero or your favorite costume or whatever. Team barbecues, kids summer camps. We do, last year we actually went on a team kind of retreat, but like it was there's along the northern peninsula of Michigan, right, pretty much the northern point of Michigan before you get to Canada. There's a Pictured Rocks hike, and it's like it's nationally ranked, Munising, Michigan, and so we went up there, rented on Airbnb, did like a getaway, did this 10-mile hike, came back, cooked steaks. I hauled the mats up there, did mats along so it was like kind of like a retreat kind of style getaway, and it's you try to promote these things as much as you can, and with different levels as you can, and it goes I think it goes a long way. I mean, some people participate more than others, but you're going to get that with anything. You're never going to get 100% participation. So
Absolutely.
that's a big deal for sure.
Very cool. Well, talking about, community and connection, I want to give one more shout out to another one of our supporters and sponsors of the show. This is the Connected Leaders Academy.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
All right. That was the Connected Leaders Academy and Jose Escobar. I want to thank Jose for giving me the opportunity to speak at the Baldathon. I never knew that, shaving my head would get me on a podcast, but I got to speak the other day, which is cool. And I also got to meet a good friend, Emilio Ramon, and his wife, Daniela Ramon, who, second edition of Born to Risk. They were gracious enough to allow me a chapter in this book. So I've been excited to become an award-winning co-author on that. So thank you to those guys. And if you need more information, let me know. Hook you up with Jose and get you in part of the program. But again, I'm back with David Fox, co-owner of Metro Jiu-Jitsu. We've talked about all things Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, talked a little bit about real estate. If you missed it, go back, check it out. And also don't forget to go to Master Motivation Podcast on YouTube and subscribe. So David, I've got a couple more questions for you before we get ready to get on with the rest of our day. What motivates you every morning to keep striving for more in business, on the mats, and at home?
So yeah, if you had asked me 3 or 4 years ago, I think it would have been legacy. And I think now it is just, it would be being present with those who are in front of you that day. Of course, my family, but then, like if I'm on the Zoom call, or I've got an appointment, or I'm on the mats with somebody, they get 100% of me as best I can. And so that motivates me to just, I found myself, looking so far ahead, almost so far ahead that it's a rookie mistake, but you're looking so far ahead that you just look back and you're like, Amanda was showing what caught it was she was showing me pictures of some of the kids and events that I swear to you was like 2 months ago. And it was like 3 years ago. And I'm like, that's 3 years of my life, that I don't remember. I just don't really remember that. So I think there's a certainly motivated to go and do more and be what you can and build what you can. But also at the end of the day, I think a lot about, it's not to get morbid, I think a lot about death. I really do. And I'm like, like who's going to be at my funeral? Maybe a few people from the gym, maybe some real estate clients, but it's going to be my family. Like it's going to be my immediate family. That's who's going to be there. And so that's who I try to give into, pour into as I can. And that's what keeps me motivated would be those.
Well, you kind of answered my next question. I was going to ask you what had changed, but man, I can relate to you so much on that. Like you think about something and you could swear it was 2 months ago, but it was a year, 2 years, 3 years. Sometimes I look at my Facebook memories and I go, wow, man, that seems like so long ago. Yeah. And then some things I just remember like it was literally yesterday. And sometimes I really just like to sit and look at those memories and try to remember, what was I feeling then? And what were like my kids or my family or the people that I'm in the pictures with, what were they feeling? Where are they now? What are they doing now? Yeah. Again, my kids are 23 and 20. It seems like we were just, at dance recitals and baseball games, but now I'm at, my daughter just helped arrange and prepare for a Chamber of Commerce event that we participate in. And I'm like, wait, she's like graduated college and she's like working. And so we get so busy trying to build this legacy, because this is what we've heard for so long, is that, we want to leave a legacy. And so we focus on that and we focus on our career and we focus on all the things. And it's like, wait, what about living life and just enjoying, all the moments, right?
I think, I think there are a lot of I'm an advocate, obviously, an advocate of social media. I mean, we couldn't do things like this without, I'm an advocate of it. I think it's a good, useful tool, but I also think that it needs to be consumed and filtered through a certain lens and a filter, understanding that there's of all of the humans that exist, only a certain part, that's a very small portion, are actually putting out regular content and messaging. And so
Right.
now those, what is their motive and the motive and the niche and thing. And so you talk about legacy and it just loses its context. You know, when there were millennia of human existence when it was just your family. You woke up. Are you familiar with the Jimmy John's story? It's the story of the Mexican fisherman on every Jimmy John's on the wall. You know what I'm talking about?
No, but
Dude.
I do like Jimmy John's.
Yeah. So it's I'll keep it short, but it's like, you know, a businessman, he's on a retreat in Mexico, and then he goes, he sees a fisherman. It's like noon, and he sees a fisherman coming in, and he's got a couple fish. He's like, "Hey, what'd you do? You know, you caught some fish?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What are you doing now?" He's like, "I'm gonna go, you know, go into the city, you know, cook up some fish. We're gonna play the banjo, you know, pour some wine, and you know, just kind of kick it with the boys over the fire." He's like, "Why don't you go out and catch more fish?" He's like, "Well, and then what?" He's like, "Well, then you could sell it." And then he's like, "And do what?" He's like, "You know, do that more and more, and then you can get a fleet, and then you grow. And then he's like, and then he's like, "And then what?" He's like, "Then you sell the enterprise. You get to exit the company." And then he's like, "And then what?" "Well, then you could retire to Mexico, spend the first half of the day catching fish, playing a band." And I'm like, that's on every Jimmy John's, bro. You got to like everyone I've been to anyway. And I think about that so much of, like, you just miss it's easy to miss, man. And I'm trying to and it's not like I had to tell myself this every day. I'm like be present with the kids, be present with my family, you know, like, and it's difficult, man. It's social media can be a little bit of a trap if you're not diligent and vigilant with your protecting your mindset a little bit. So,
Well, and by the way, so I never realized that was on the Jimmy John's wall, but I have heard that story.
Okay,
And
all right,
I mean, and I absolutely, I love it. I love the whole concept of it, you know, and then what, and then what, and then what. And it's like, big moment. But yeah, you know, social media can be really, really great depending on what you're looking for.
Sure.
Right. If you're looking for the drama and you're looking for the negative, like, you're going to find it.
Yep.
But like, again, I've been following you for a long time. I love your approach to how you post, and just real and raw, and just saying it, you know, the way it is. I love, that's the stuff that I love opening social media. Now, by the way, do I get stuck like doom scrolling through the reels and like going from one to the next? Yes, I do, unfortunately. But you know, it's one of the reasons why I created this podcast initially was, it was during COVID that I was like, man, social media is kind of a drag. Like it's just, and I said, wait, maybe if I interview people that are positive and have that growth mindset and let them tell their story. Everybody's got a story. People love stories. That's human nature, that we love to hear stories. And so why don't we put that out there? That's how this podcast was born.
That's so cool. Did I see 453?
200 as far as guests.
Yeah, yes. As far as episodes, hundreds of episodes though is where. We're at, right?
Well, for this one alone, Master Motivation, I've introduced. You will be number 271.
Wow.
But I've also done. I have a podcast with my wife. We do Keep the Flame Alive. We talk about our marriage, our love, her story, how we met. We've been having a lot of fun with that. I've also done some different podcasts for Martial Arts Industry Association. So, I mean, in total, I've actually done over 500 podcasts online. And each and every podcast that I choose to be a guest on is, you know, bringing the motivation, inspiration, and education. That's the whole gig.
Do you know that my one of our coaches, he's from South Africa. He's like super tacky and nerdy. And he's like, you know, the average podcast burns out after 21 episodes.
Wow.
I was like, that's nothing. That's not like, how do you not make it back? But, you know, run out of things to talk about, I guess.
Well, hey, the average Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner doesn't make it past white belt.
Yeah, that's true.
So much more, right? And the drop off at blue belt is pretty extreme.
It's more. Yeah, it's like, what? You just wanted the first belt.
No,
that happens a lot. It's a meme now, but yeah, it's cliche for sure.
It does. Hey, I got one last question for you, and you kind of covered a little bit of it, but I'm going to let you dive into it a little bit deeper. When your kids look back one day, what do you hope they take away from watching your journey?
Yeah, I want them to see a God-fearing man that, like I did, a God-fearing man that was also, I gave what I could, where I could, and the things I committed to, I backed up on. And I think there's there's several sides to this. You can see a lot of people that they're God-fearing and but then they just kind of like they almost not doing a whole lot. Like it's so consumed and you're not building much. And I think that's missing the point a little bit there. And then of course you go to the other side of just, I'm here to build my kingdom. And then you die, you take nothing with you. Right. Like you never see a U-Haul following a hearse, as they say. So I want them to see both of those things. I want them to see both, but ultimately, man, I just want to raise up kids that are, they are successful in what they choose to pursue. Someone's asked me, like, do you want them to open up a school? Not unless they want to. Not unless they want to, man. And whatever they choose, whatever path they choose to go on, that I mean, that's kind of my goal and my legacy with it. And just being back and saying, yeah, Dad. I would also say I hope they extend some grace. I look at how my parents did things, and we all want to say, oh, your parents did the best that they could with the tools that they had at the time that they had them. Like they did, man. So that's it. That would be my answer with that.
I love it. Well, that's great. I mean, as a martial arts school owner, you have such a tremendous opportunity to impact so many lives, and it's that ripple effect. Sure. I mean, you impact one person's life, and even if they only impact one, and that just kind of continues, that's a huge ripple effect. But chances are you're going to be creating leaders within your school and leaders within your own children who are going to go out and carry on not only your legacy but the impact that they have on your immediate community and ultimately the world. So I think that's awesome. So, hey man, thanks for being on the show today. Thanks for taking the time to just share your experience, share your stories. And anybody that is watching, do us a favor, like, share, and comment. Share it on Facebook, LinkedIn. Go over to YouTube and subscribe to the Master Motivation Podcast. I'll be posting a couple more clips about this interview over the next few days, and I hope that everybody gets a chance to check it out.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me, Jason. Thanks so much, man.
Of course. Take care and keep posting good stuff, man.
Yep. Thanks, brother. Take care.
All right. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye, guys.